The Clone Wars had consumed the galaxy for nearly 3 years, transforming the once proud guardians of peace into battlefield commanders and turning thousands of star systems into burning front lines. Across the Mid-Rim and Outer Rim, Republic Venator-class star destroyers exchanged devastating broadsides with Separatist warships while clone troopers fought endless campaigns against armies of battle droids beneath alien skies. Entire worlds had become symbols of attrition. Entire generations had known nothing except war. Senators argued within the towering chambers of Coruscant while Jedi Masters struggled to preserve order in a galaxy increasingly defined by chaos. Every major power believed it understood the dangers threatening civilization. The Republic feared Separatist expansion. The Separatists feared Republic domination. The Jedi feared the growing darkness clouding the Force. The Sith feared only failure. Yet beyond the furthest hyperspace routes known to any navigator, beyond the ancient star maps of explorers, beyond even the dangerous mysteries hidden within the unknown regions, something was approaching that cared nothing for politics, conquest, ideology, or power. It had not come to rule the galaxy. It had come to hunt. Far beyond the boundaries of known space, darkness stretched between forgotten stars. Vast clouds of cosmic dust drifted through regions untouched by civilization, illuminated only by distant stellar light that had traveled millions of years through the void. Here, where even hyperspace routes became unreliable and navigation computers frequently failed, silence ruled. It was a silence older than the Republic itself. A silence that had endured for ages beyond memory. Then reality broke. The rupture appeared without warning. One moment the darkness remained undisturbed. The next, space itself twisted inward as though invisible hands were tearing open the fabric of existence. Brilliant streams of energy erupted across the void, forming spiraling waves of emerald, violet, and crimson light that illuminated entire systems. Gravitational forces surged violently. Nearby asteroids shattered. Comets altered course. Electromagnetic storms spread outward in every direction. The phenomenon dwarfed anything ever recorded by Republic science. The rupture continued expanding. Across dozens of light years, stars flickered beneath impossible distortions. Reality folded inward before violently exploding outward again. Massive shockwaves rippled through hyperspace itself, disrupting navigation routes throughout nearby sectors. Then something emerged. At first, automated Chiss sensor arrays detected only silhouettes. Gigantic objects. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. As long-range scanners struggled to identify the newcomers, disbelief spread through Chiss intelligence networks. The vessels emerging from the rupture did not resemble Republic warships. They did not resemble Separatist cruisers. They did not resemble anything catalogued within known galactic records. Dark metallic hulls glimmered beneath distant starlight. Their designs appeared both primitive and impossibly advanced. Massive weapon arrays lined their surfaces. Strange energy signatures surrounded them like invisible storms. Predator ships. Entire fleets. Hunter vessels ranging from scout craft to colossal command ships poured through the dimensional wound. Their arrival carried none of the ceremonial grandeur associated with exploration. No diplomatic broadcasts followed. No attempts at contact were transmitted. Only purpose. Only pursuit. Because hidden among the fleet traveled something even the predators feared. Deep within the largest vessel, secured behind layers of reinforced containment systems, biological alarms screamed warnings across monitoring stations. Containment failure. Life sign multiplication detected. Multiple breaches confirmed. Emergency quarantine ineffective. The nightmare had already begun. Within darkened chambers buried inside the Predator flagship, black forms moved silently through flickering shadows. Razor-sharp claws scraped against metal surfaces. Secondary containment barriers buckled beneath relentless pressure. Acid burned through bulkheads. Warning systems failed one after another. Xenomorphs. Not dozens. Not hundreds. Thousands. Entire Hive populations had escaped confinement during the violent dimensional transition. Predator crews responded with ruthless efficiency. Elite hunters armed themselves with plasma casters and bladed weapons. Internal security teams launched immediate extermination protocols. But they were already too late. Egg chambers hidden throughout multiple vessels had survived. Facehuggers had escaped. The infestation was spreading. And worse still, several damaged transports had detached during the dimensional transit itself. Those drifting ships now moved silently toward the nearest inhabited systems. Unseen, carrying extinction within their hulls. Elsewhere in the unknown regions, Chiss patrol groups were first to encounter evidence of the anomaly. Commander Thrawn, still a rising officer within the Chiss expansionary defense fleet, stood upon the bridge of a patrol cruiser as reports flooded tactical stations. Brilliant holographic displays cast blue light across the command deck while officers struggled to process incoming data. Entire sectors had experienced sensor disruptions. Navigation systems reported impossible readings. Long-range probes had vanished. The patterns disturbed Thrawn immediately. Unlike many military officers, he viewed anomalies not as accidents but as clues. Something intelligent was moving beyond the frontier. Something powerful. Something entirely unknown. He ordered reconnaissance operations at once. The decision would save countless lives. It would not save enough. Meanwhile, thousands of light-years away, the Clone Wars continued uninterrupted. Republic fleets engaged Separatist forces near Christophsis. Clone troopers launched assaults across dozens of contested systems. Jedi generals coordinated military campaigns stretching across the galaxy. Nobody realized events unfolding beyond the frontier would soon render every current conflict insignificant. Aboard the Venator-class Star Destroyer Resolute, Captain Rex observed battle formations forming around a Separatist blockade. Turbolaser fire illuminated space outside the bridge viewport. Tactical officers coordinated fighter deployments while clone crews maintained shield integrity beneath constant bombardment. Then every sensor display aboard the vessel malfunctioned simultaneously. Alarms erupted. Navigation systems flickered. Communications arrays lost synchronization. For several seconds, confusion replaced battlefield coordination. Republic and Separatist forces experienced identical disruptions. Then the anomaly vanished. Everything returned to normal. The battle resumed. No one understood they had just witnessed the first ripple generated by an event unfolding beyond known space. Back on Coruscant, Jedi Masters gathered within the temple to discuss military deployments and growing instability throughout the Republic. The atmosphere inside the council chamber remained tense. Vast windows revealed endless cityscapes stretching beneath golden sunlight while airspeeders moved through distant traffic lanes like streams of light. Master Yoda sat in meditation. For weeks he had sensed growing unease. Not darkness. Not exactly. Something stranger. Something that felt disconnected from the familiar struggles between light and dark. As he reached deeper into the Force, a vision unfolded before him. He saw stars disappearing. He saw worlds consumed by shadows moving beneath storm-filled skies. He saw hunters standing atop mountains of skulls. He saw creatures emerging from darkness like living nightmares. Most disturbing of all, he felt absence. Not hatred. Not ambition. Not vengeance. Only predatory instinct. Only hunger. The vision vanished. Yoda opened his eyes. For the first time in many years, uncertainty lingered within his expression. The Force had warned him, but it had not explained. Far away, Darth Sidious experienced his own disturbance. Within secret chambers hidden beneath Coruscant, the Dark Lord reviewed intelligence reports gathered from the unknown regions. Fragmented transmissions from Chiss sources had reached Republic intelligence networks. Most officials dismissed them as sensor errors. Sidious did not. His rise to power depended upon controlling every variable, every conflict, every crisis, every major player within the galaxy. These reports represented something outside his design, something unknown. That fact alone concerned him. As the Sith Lord studied the incoming information, he felt a brief chill moving through the Force. An unfamiliar presence. Not Jedi. Not Sith. Not anything he recognized. For the first time in decades, a variable existed beyond his control. And somewhere in the darkness beyond known space, entire worlds were already dying. The first colony fell without warning. Located near the edge of unexplored territory, the mining settlement consisted of fewer than 50,000 inhabitants. Automated resource platforms extracted valuable minerals while civilian transports regularly carried shipments toward major trade routes. Its final transmission lasted 27 seconds. Emergency beacons activated. Screams filled communication channels. Security personnel reported hostile lifeforms. Then static. When rescue teams eventually arrived, they discovered abandoned facilities covered in strange organic growths. Walls appeared alive. Corridors resembled biological tunnels. Evidence of violent struggle existed everywhere. No survivors remained. Only empty silence. And movement within the darkness. The investigation vessels never returned. The infestation spread. One colony became 3. 3 became 7. Entire frontier settlements disappeared. Reports remained isolated enough that Republic authorities failed to recognize the pattern. The galaxy was simply too large. The war consumed too much attention. By the time anyone understood what was happening, the nightmare would already be beyond containment. Within predator fleets moving through the unknown regions, elder hunters gathered to evaluate their situation. Ancient warriors whose trophies spanned centuries studied tactical projections showing expanding infestation zones. They had pursued these creatures across unimaginable distances. Entire civilizations had fallen before the Xenomorph plague. Allowing the Hive to spread unchecked was unacceptable. Their hunt would continue, regardless of cost. Predator vessels altered course. Hunter fleets moved deeper into the Star Wars galaxy. Not as conquerors. Not as invaders. But as executioners pursuing prey that threatened every living world in existence. Unfortunately, nobody in the Republic understood their purpose. Nobody in the Separatist alliance understood their mission. To the galaxy, they would appear as another alien threat emerging from the darkness. Another enemy. Another war. And so the stage was set. The Clone Wars continued raging across countless systems. The Jedi remained stretched thin. The Sith continued manipulating both sides. The Republic and Separatists remained consumed by their own conflict. Meanwhile, hidden among distant stars, predator hunting fleets advanced through the unknown regions while xenomorph infestations silently spread across isolated colonies. Neither side yet understood the true danger. Because the hunters had arrived. And the prey was already multiplying. If you want to see more epic Star Wars crossover invasions and galaxy-shattering what-if stories, make sure to smash the like button, share this video with fellow Star Wars fans, comment below with the crossover scenario you want explored next, and most importantly subscribe to the channel so you never miss future adventures from a galaxy far, far away. The Force reveals many dangers, but sometimes the greatest threats come from beyond its reach entirely. As stars continued burning across the endless darkness and warships exchanged fire above distant worlds, an entirely new conflict began unfolding beyond the awareness of nearly every major power in the galaxy. It would not be fought over territory. It would not be fought over ideology. It would not end through diplomacy. It would become a war for survival itself. And before it was over, Jedi Masters, Sith Lords, clone armies, Mandalorian warriors, bounty hunters, smugglers, senators, and entire civilizations would learn a terrifying truth. The Clone Wars were no longer the greatest danger facing the galaxy. They were merely the distraction that allowed the real nightmare to arrive. The first signs that something had gone catastrophically wrong arrived as routine bureaucratic reports buried beneath thousands of other wartime communications flooding Republic intelligence networks every day. During the Clone Wars, entire worlds frequently lost contact with Coruscant due to pirate activity, Separatist raids, hyperspace disruptions, or simple administrative failures. The Republic had grown accustomed to chaos. In many ways, the war had normalized disaster itself. A missing colony on the frontier no longer commanded immediate concern when dozens of military campaigns demanded attention elsewhere. Yet deep within the Outer Rim, on a mineral-rich settlement known as Keeler Prime, silence had begun spreading like a disease. Communication arrays ceased transmitting. Cargo shipments stopped arriving. Automated distress beacons activated briefly before vanishing. Then nothing remained except an eerie absence that stretched across every frequency. At first, officials assumed Separatist involvement. The system sat near several unstable trade corridors and had experienced occasional droid incursions before. Local authorities dispatched reconnaissance probes to investigate. None returned. Additional signals sent toward the colony received no response. Weeks passed. Civilian concerns mounted. Families living elsewhere in the Republic demanded answers regarding loved ones stationed on the world. Eventually, enough pressure accumulated that the Jedi Order agreed to investigate. The assignment fell to Jedi Master Plo Koon. Unlike many commanders consumed by the largest battles of the Clone Wars, Plo Koon maintained a reputation for careful observation and measured judgment. He understood that small mysteries often concealed larger dangers. Accompanied by a detachment of clone troopers from the 104th Battalion and several Jedi support personnel, he departed Coruscant aboard a Republic cruiser and entered hyperspace toward the forgotten frontier world. As the vessel crossed vast distances through swirling blue hyperspace currents, the atmosphere aboard remained calm. Clone troopers cleaned armor and checked weapons. Navigation officers monitored route stability. Republic personnel discussed the likelihood of encountering pirates or remnants of a Separatist raiding force. No one anticipated anything beyond a straightforward investigation. Only Plo Koon sensed unease. Throughout the journey, the Force felt disturbed in subtle ways that resisted explanation. He had experienced darkness before. He had faced Sith assassins, battled Separatist armies, and witnessed countless tragedies across war-torn worlds. This sensation differed fundamentally. The disturbance felt alien. It lacked intention. It lacked hatred. Instead, it resembled a spreading infection moving beneath the surface of reality itself. Several times during meditation he perceived fleeting impressions of darkness filled with movement. Screams. Endless hunger. The visions disappeared before clarity emerged. By the time the Republic vessel exited hyperspace near Keeler Prime, every member of the mission immediately understood something was wrong. The orbital traffic lanes surrounding the colony should have been busy with mining transports and civilian freighters. Instead, space appeared abandoned. Several cargo vessels drifted silently near the planet, their engines inactive. No communication signals originated from their hulls. No docking procedures were underway. No life signs appeared. The sight alone unsettled experienced officers. When Republic teams boarded the nearest vessel, the mystery deepened further. The ship remained intact. Its systems functioned. Supplies sat untouched. Personal belongings remained scattered throughout crew quarters. The crew themselves had vanished. Not evacuated. Not removed. Gone. As if dozens of people had simply ceased existing. More disturbing evidence soon emerged. Strange residue covered portions of the corridors. Deep scars marked bulkheads that appeared melted from within. Security recordings revealed fragmented glimpses of chaos before ending abruptly in bursts of static. Clone technicians attempted to recover additional footage. What they found silenced the entire investigation team. Blurry figures moved through darkened corridors. Humanoid. Violently aggressive. The recordings ended before identification became possible. Plo Koon immediately ordered heightened security protocols. Something dangerous awaited them below. Republic landing craft descended through the atmosphere hours later. The first visual scans of Keeler Prime revealed a world that appeared untouched from orbit. Cities remained standing. Infrastructure remained intact. Industrial facilities continued operating on automated cycles. Yet no movement appeared anywhere. No vehicles traveled roads. No workers occupied mining complexes. No civilians gathered within settlements. The planet resembled a perfectly preserved graveyard. As clone gunships landed near the primary colony, tension spread through every soldier present. Dust blew across deserted landing pads. Empty cargo containers sat exactly where workers had abandoned them. Flickering lights illuminated silent buildings beneath gray skies. The stillness felt unnatural. Even the local wildlife seemed absent. Pilo Koon led the advance personally. Clone troopers moved alongside him in disciplined formations while scanners searched for life signs. The readings made little sense. Thousands of biological signatures existed beneath the city. Far too many. Yet none appeared human. None matched known species profiles. The signatures clustered together in dense concentrations underground. The Jedi Masters' concern deepened. Republic teams entered the colony. What they discovered defied comprehension. Entire neighborhoods stood abandoned exactly as residents had left them. Meals remained untouched on tables. Market stalls displayed goods frozen in place beneath layers of dust. Children's toys rested in empty streets. Doors stood open throughout residential districts. There was no evidence of organized evacuation. No signs of military engagement. No indication that the population had fled. Only absence. Only silence. Only growing dread. As investigations continued, another discovery transformed concern into horror. Beneath several structures, clone troopers uncovered organic material unlike anything recorded within Republic databases. Thick black growths covered walls and ceilings. Strange resin-like substances formed tunnels extending downward into the planet's crust. Entire sections of the colony appeared consumed by biological architecture that seemed simultaneously artificial and alive. The structures pulsed faintly. As though breathing. As though growing. Republic scientists immediately began collecting samples. Pilo Koon ordered them to stop. The Force screamed warnings. Hours later, those warnings proved justified. Deep beneath the colony, a clone patrol entered one of the organic tunnels to investigate further. The transmission reached command only in fragments. The soldiers reported movement. Unidentified organisms. Large numbers. Then came blaster fire. Screams. Static. Silence. The patrol disappeared. Rescue teams mobilized immediately. Pilo Koon personally joined the search. Armed clone troopers advanced through the biological tunnels while floodlights illuminated grotesque surroundings unlike anything they had ever encountered. Black resin coated every surface. The air smelled of decay and acidic chemicals. Strange clicking noises echoed from distant chambers hidden within the darkness. Every instinct warned them to leave. Instead, they pressed deeper. The tunnel eventually opened into an immense subterranean cavern. What awaited them there would haunt survivors for the rest of their lives. Thousands of organic structures covered the chamber floor. Eggs. Rows upon rows stretching beyond visibility. Entire fields of them. The sight resembled a nightmare brought into reality. Before anyone could react, several eggs began opening. Petal-like membranes unfolded. Something moved inside. Then the attack began. Facehuggers erupted from the eggs with terrifying speed. Dozens launched through the air. Clone troopers opened fire instantly. Blaster bolts vaporized some creatures mid-leap. Others continued advancing. Several reached their targets. Chaos exploded throughout the cavern. Soldiers fired desperately while creatures scurried across walls and ceilings. Screams echoed through the darkness as facehuggers latched onto helmets and armor joints. Medical personnel attempted rescues only to encounter additional attackers emerging from surrounding eggs. Pilo Koon ignited his blue lightsaber. The blade illuminated the cavern with brilliant energy. His weapon carved through attacking creatures effortlessly, but the sheer number proved overwhelming. Hundreds remained. Thousands more surrounded them. The Jedi Master immediately recognized the danger. This was not an isolated predator species. This was an infestation. A hive. And it was far larger than anyone had imagined. The Republic force retreated toward the surface while fighting continuously. Clone discipline prevented complete collapse, but casualties mounted rapidly. Several infected personnel required emergency quarantine. Others never escaped the tunnels at all. Yet the true horror remained ahead. Medical teams soon discovered the purpose of the facehuggers. Hours after exposure, infected victims began displaying severe biological abnormalities. Internal scans revealed foreign organisms developing within their bodies. Emergency surgery attempts failed repeatedly. The parasites adapted too quickly. Nothing within Republic medicine resembled this threat. Then the first chestburster emerged. The event shattered any remaining assumptions regarding the nature of the infestation. Doctors watched in horror as the creature erupted from its host and escaped containment before security teams could respond. Surveillance footage tracked it briefly through maintenance corridors. Then it vanished. The nightmare had entered a new stage. As emergency alerts spread throughout the Republic expedition, larger creatures began appearing across the colony. Full-grown xenomorphs emerged from hidden tunnels and abandoned structures as darkness fell across Keeler Prime. The creatures moved with terrifying intelligence. They hunted strategically. They targeted isolated personnel. They exploited shadows and blind spots with ruthless efficiency. Blaster rifles proved effective, but every kill introduced new dangers as acidic blood melted armor, weapons, and infrastructure. Entire defensive positions collapsed beneath chemical damage. Clone casualties increased steadily. Plo Koon fought alongside his soldiers throughout the night. His mastery of the Force allowed him to sense approaching attackers moments before they struck. His lightsaber cut through the creatures with devastating precision. Yet even he recognized the terrifying truth. The Hive was growing. Every hour brought new hosts. Every victim strengthened the infestation. The Republic had arrived too late. Meanwhile, far above the planet, something else entered the system. Long-range sensors aboard the orbiting Republic cruiser detected multiple vessels emerging from hyperspace. Unknown vessels. Angular. Unlike anything recorded within Republic databases. Predator ships. The hunters had found the Hive. As Republic commanders struggled to identify the newcomers, the alien fleet advanced toward Keeler Prime without transmitting a single communication. Their intentions remained unknown. Their purpose remained unclear. But one fact became increasingly obvious. The creatures below terrified even these mysterious newcomers enough to pursue them across unimaginable distances. That realization alone frightened Plo Koon more than anything he had yet witnessed. Because if an entire fleet of heavily armed alien hunters considered the infestation dangerous enough to chase across dimensions, then the Republic was facing something far worse than another battlefield threat. It was confronting a species capable of consuming worlds. And Keeler Prime was only the beginning. As night engulfed the colony and xenomorph screeches echoed across the darkness, Plo Koon gazed toward the stars where unfamiliar warships descended through the atmosphere. The Force offered no comfort, only a chilling certainty. The galaxy was about to discover a horror unlike anything it had ever faced before. And somewhere within the darkness below, the Hive continued growing. The first confirmed encounter between the Republic and the mysterious hunters from beyond hyperspace did not occur during a grand battle involving fleets and armies. It began in silence, beneath crimson skies on a dying colony world whose name had already become synonymous with terror throughout the Outer Rim. The colony of Braca Minor had once been a modest agricultural settlement supporting nearby trade routes. Now it existed only as another warning transmitted across increasingly desperate Republic communication channels. Weeks earlier, Jedi investigators had uncovered the horrifying truth lurking beneath its abandoned settlements. Xenomorph organisms had infested the colony from beneath the surface, transforming mines, tunnels, and entire underground districts into a sprawling biological hive. Every attempt to contain the outbreak had ended in disaster. Clone troopers disappeared inside organic tunnels. Rescue teams vanished. Entire military installations were overwhelmed within hours. Yet as Republic commanders struggled to understand the nightmare spreading through the Outer Rim, a second mystery emerged. Something else was hunting the Xenomorphs. At first, survivors described impossible stories. They spoke of invisible figures moving through forests at night. They reported strange clicking sounds echoing through darkness moments before entire xenomorph patrols were slaughtered. Security footage occasionally captured distorted shapes that vanished whenever technicians attempted analysis. Some believed the Jedi had deployed secret weapons. Others suspected Separatist infiltration units operating with advanced cloaking systems. The truth was far stranger. Deep within the forests bordering one of Bracca Minor's largest hives, Clone Commander Cody advanced alongside a heavily armed reconnaissance detachment. Their mission was straightforward. Jedi Master Plo Koon had requested updated intelligence regarding the infestation's growth. Republic forces needed accurate information before committing additional battalions to the campaign. Unfortunately, nothing about fighting xenomorphs remained straightforward for long. The jungle surrounding them felt wrong. Massive alien trees stretched toward darkening skies while thick mist coiled through twisted roots like living spirits. The air smelled of damp vegetation, scorched blaster residue, and something far worse. Beneath every scent lingered the unmistakable odor of death. It permeated the environment so thoroughly that even veteran clone troopers found themselves increasingly uneasy. Their helmet scanners detected movement constantly. None of it followed predictable patterns. One moment sensors revealed dozens of life forms moving beneath the forest floor. The next moment everything disappeared completely. Cody trusted his instincts. His instincts told him they were being watched. Not by xenomorphs. By something smarter. The squad advanced deeper into the jungle until they discovered the first body. Or rather, what remained of it. A massive xenomorph warrior hung suspended from a tree nearly 20 meters above the ground. Thick chains constructed from unfamiliar metallic alloys bound the creature's limbs. Its chest had been opened surgically. Its skull displayed precise damage inconsistent with blaster fire. Most disturbing of all, sections of the creature appeared removed deliberately. Several clones exchanged nervous glances. Even after weeks of battling xenomorphs, this sight unsettled them. The predators of Bracca Minor had become prey. Plo Koon studied the corpse carefully through the Force. Something unusual surrounded the scene. Not darkness. Not malice. Purpose. The Jedi Masters sensed intelligence behind the kill. Cold discipline. Ancient ritual. Whoever had done this had not acted from fear or desperation. They had acted from tradition. Before he could investigate further, alarms suddenly erupted across clone helmets. Multiple contacts. Fast approaching. The forest exploded into chaos. Xenomorph drones burst from beneath roots and foliage in overwhelming numbers. Black bodies surged through mist while razor claws shredded vegetation. Acidic saliva dripped from monstrous jaws as dozens of creatures charged simultaneously toward Republic positions. Clone troopers opened fire instantly. Blue blaster bolts illuminated the jungle. Several xenomorphs collapsed. Many more continued advancing. The familiar nightmare began again. Cody organized defensive positions while heavy weapons specialists unleashed concentrated fire into the approaching swarm. Plo Koon ignited his blue lightsaber and moved forward, cutting through attacking creatures with elegant precision. Limbs and tails fell across the battlefield as the Jedi carved a path through the horde. Yet something felt different. The xenomorphs were not attacking normally. They seemed agitated, distracted, almost frightened. Then the invisible hunter struck. A bright burst of plasma erupted from nowhere. One xenomorph exploded instantly. Another shot followed. Then another. Confusion rippled through both clones and xenomorphs alike. The source remained unseen. Only flashes of blue-white energy betrayed its existence. Suddenly, a shimmering distortion appeared atop a fallen rock formation overlooking the battlefield. For a fraction of a second, the cloaking field flickered. Everyone saw it. A towering humanoid figure clad in advanced armor unlike anything known within the Republic. Metallic plates covered its body. Strange trophies hung from belts and shoulder harnesses. A terrifying mask concealed its face while glowing targeting systems tracked movement below. Then the figure vanished again. The jungle erupted into uncertainty. Clone troopers redirected fire. The invisible hunter moved faster than any organic life form Cody had ever witnessed. One moment it stood atop the rocks. The next moment it appeared behind charging xenomorphs. Blades extended from armored gauntlets. Several creatures died instantly. The hunter fought with astonishing efficiency. Every movement carried lethal precision. It neither aided the Republic nor attacked them. Its attention focused entirely upon the xenomorphs. Plo Koon watched carefully through the Force. The mysterious warrior displayed no connection to the Force whatsoever. Yet its discipline rivaled that of elite Jedi Knights. As the battle intensified, additional cloaked figures emerged from surrounding jungle. 3, then 5, then nearly a dozen. Predators. The hunters had arrived. They moved like ghosts across the battlefield, striking isolated xenomorphs before disappearing into concealment. Their plasma casters unleashed devastating bursts of energy capable of tearing through even heavily armored warriors. Wrist blades flashed repeatedly through mist while thermal vision systems tracked targets invisible to ordinary soldiers. For several breathtaking minutes, Republic forces and Predator hunters fought separate battles against the same enemy. Neither side trusted the other. Neither side understood the other. But survival created temporary alignment. The xenomorph swarm eventually broke. Dozens of dead creatures littered the forest floor. The survivors retreated toward deeper hive tunnels. Silence returned slowly. Smoke drifted through shattered vegetation. Clone troopers maintained firing positions while scanning for movement. The predators remained nearby. Watching. Evaluating. Studying. One of the hunters finally revealed itself completely. The enormous warrior deactivated its cloaking device and stepped into clear view. Gasps echoed through Republic ranks. The creature stood nearly 8 feet tall. Thick dreadlock-like tendrils extended from its head. Advanced armor covered much of its body. Ancient scars marked exposed skin. Its posture radiated confidence earned through countless battles. The Predator examined the battlefield. Its gaze settled upon Plo Koon. For a long moment, neither moved. The Jedi Masters sensed extraordinary complexity behind the alien's eyes. Not savagery. Not conquest. The realization surprised him. This hunter did not resemble the mindless monsters currently infesting the galaxy. It possessed culture, purpose, identity. The Predator slowly approached one of the dead xenomorph warriors. Activating a strange device attached to its armor, it removed part of the creature's skull with practiced precision. A trophy. Understanding dawned among Republic observers. The hunters were pursuing the infestation deliberately. Not fleeing it. Not avoiding it. Hunting it. The Predator collected its prize before turning back toward the clones. Tension spread instantly. Weapons remained raised. The hunter seemed completely unconcerned. Then, in a gesture no one expected, it struck its armored chest once with a clenched fist. A sign of respect. Not submission. Recognition. The Predator had witnessed Republic soldiers fighting xenomorphs successfully. That alone appeared sufficient to earn acknowledgement. Before anyone could respond, the hunter activated its cloaking field. Its form vanished. Moments later, the remaining predators disappeared as well. The jungle swallowed them entirely. Only silence remained. Back aboard the Venator-class Star Destroyer orbiting Braca Minor, reports from the encounter spread rapidly through military command networks. Intelligence analysts reviewed combat footage repeatedly. Scientists examined sensor recordings. Strategic planners debated implications. Every conclusion led toward the same unsettling reality. The galaxy now faced 2 separate extraterrestrial threats. One represented uncontrolled biological horror. The other represented highly advanced hunters pursuing that horror. The relationship between them remained unclear. Yet evidence suggested centuries of conflict. Perhaps longer. Elsewhere, Count Dooku received identical intelligence through Separatist spy networks. Unlike many Republic officials, he immediately recognized opportunity. Predators demonstrated advanced technology capable of challenging Republic and Separatist assets alike. Their cloaking systems surpassed known military applications. Their plasma weaponry rivaled heavy battlefield artillery. Most importantly, they hated the xenomorphs. Hatred created leverage. Dooku began considering possibilities. Meanwhile, on Coruscant, Darth Sidious reviewed classified reports alone within his private chambers. The Sith Lord's expression darkened as new information emerged. His plans relied upon predictability. The Clone Wars followed carefully orchestrated patterns. Predators introduced uncertainty. Unlike Republic politicians or Separatist corporations, They could not be manipulated easily. Unlike xenomorphs, they possessed intelligence, agency. Sidious sensed danger, not because the hunters threatened his power directly, because they represented variables beyond his control. Far from Coruscant, aboard a hidden predator vessel concealed within deep space, ancient hunters gathered around holographic displays depicting galactic maps. Images of xenomorph infestations glowed across tactical projections. New hunting grounds, new battlefields, new prey. Yet the warriors discussed another subject as well. Humans. Clone soldiers. They had witnessed courage during the battle on Braca Minor. Discipline. Qualities respected deeply within predator culture. For the first time since entering the Star Wars galaxy, the hunters recognized potential equals among the local population. That realization carried consequences. Because while xenomorphs remained their primary quarry, honorable prey represented opportunity. And among the billions inhabiting the Republic, the Separatists, and countless independent systems, there existed many warriors worthy of challenge. As more predator clans arrived through dimensional ruptures spreading across the unknown regions, hunting expeditions expanded rapidly. The Clone Wars galaxy believed it had discovered allies against the xenomorph threat. The reality was far more complicated. The predators had not come to save anyone. They had come to hunt. And the galaxy had just become the largest hunting preserve in their history. Count Dooku had spent years believing that knowledge was the greatest weapon in the galaxy. Long before he became the leader of the Confederacy of Independent Systems, he had been one of the Jedi Order's most respected masters, a scholar whose understanding of history, politics, and strategy rivaled nearly anyone alive. Even after embracing the dark side and becoming Darth Tyrannus, that belief never truly changed. Where others saw chaos, Dooku saw opportunity. Where others saw danger, he saw leverage. It was a mindset that had helped him manipulate senators, command armies, and wage war across thousands of systems. It was also the mindset that would lead him directly into one of the greatest mistakes of his life. Reports from Braca Minor and dozens of other infected worlds had already reached Separatist intelligence divisions. Entire colonies had vanished beneath expanding xenomorph hives. Clone battalions disappeared underground. Republic fleets found themselves diverting resources away from key battlefronts simply to contain biological outbreaks. The creatures spreading across the galaxy represented a threat unlike anything either side had encountered before. They could not be negotiated with. They possessed no political goals. They could not be bribed, intimidated, or manipulated. Most leaders viewed that reality with horror. Dooku viewed it with fascination. From his private chambers aboard the Separatist command vessel Invisible Hand, he studied holorecordings recovered from battlefields throughout the Outer Rim. Again and again he watched footage showing xenomorph warriors tearing through clone defensive lines. He observed their incredible speed, their resilience, and their terrifying reproductive cycle. Every military analyst assigned to the project reached the same conclusion. If controlled properly, xenomorphs could become the most devastating biological weapon ever unleashed upon the galaxy. The possibility was irresistible. The Republic already struggled against Separatist droid armies. Imagine what would happen if entire clone garrisons suddenly found themselves fighting both battle droids and xenomorph infestations simultaneously. Imagine Republic worlds collapsing from within as hidden hives emerged beneath population centers. Imagine Jedi generals forced into impossible situations where every casualty risked creating additional monsters. Victory could come years earlier. Entire sectors could fall without requiring conventional invasion. The creatures were dangerous. But danger had never discouraged Sith. Dooku ordered the operation immediately. Officially, the project did not exist. Only a handful of trusted scientists, military commanders, and intelligence officers knew its true purpose. Hidden research facilities were established on remote Separatist-controlled worlds. Captured xenomorph specimens were transported under maximum security. Specialized containment chambers were constructed. Thousands of battle droids were assigned to guard research sites around the clock. Every precaution imaginable was taken. None of it would matter. The first facility was established on Varni's Prime, a barren industrial world located deep within Separatist territory. Massive underground laboratories carved into ancient mountains became the center of Project Dominion. There, teams of geneticists, engineers, and military researchers began studying captured xenomorph drones. Their objective seemed simple enough: understand the creatures, discover weaknesses, determine whether they could be controlled. Initial progress appeared promising. Unlike organic soldiers, battle droids were immune to facehugger implantation. They felt no fear. They could be sacrificed in unlimited numbers. Scientists safely observed hive behavior through remote systems while advanced scanners analyzed biological structures. Data accumulated rapidly. Researchers mapped reproductive cycles. They identified communication patterns. They even began isolating chemical signals used by xenomorphs to coordinate actions within hives. Dooku received regular updates. Each report strengthened his confidence. The creatures were intelligent, but not intelligent enough. At least that was what everyone believed. The first warning signs emerged after 3 weeks. Several containment systems malfunctioned simultaneously despite showing no evidence of technical failure. Security recordings revealed strange patterns among captive xenomorphs. The creatures had stopped attacking barriers randomly. Instead, they appeared to be testing weaknesses systematically. Different specimens worked together without visible communication. Some intentionally sacrificed themselves to expose vulnerabilities. Others observed guard patrols for hours at a time. Scientists interpreted these developments as encouraging. It meant the creatures could learn. Adaptability made weapons more effective. No one considered what that adaptability might mean if containment ever failed. Deep beneath the laboratories, something else was happening. The xenomorphs were learning about their captors. They observed schedules, security routines, power fluctuations, ventilation systems. They watched constantly, waiting. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the galaxy, predator hunting parties intensified their operations. More clans arrived through dimensional ruptures. More xenomorph outbreaks were discovered and eliminated. Several predator vessels detected unusual activity surrounding Varni's Prime. Long-range scans identified concentrated xenomorph life signs hidden within Separatist facilities. The hunters immediately recognized the danger. They knew exactly what happened when arrogant civilizations attempted to weaponize xenomorphs. History had taught them repeatedly. Such experiments always ended the same way. Predator elders dispatched warning transmissions toward the planet. The Separatists ignored them. Most could not even translate the signals. Those who recognized their origin dismissed them as intimidation tactics. Dooku himself paid little attention. He considered the predators dangerous but ultimately irrelevant. They were hunters, not statesmen, not strategists, not visionaries. The Count believed he understood the larger game. He was wrong. The disaster began with a single facehugger. One scientist violated containment protocols while conducting tissue analysis. Official records would later reveal dozens of procedural failures leading to the incident. Unofficially, arrogance played the largest role. Researchers had become comfortable around the specimens. Familiarity bred carelessness. Carelessness created opportunity. The facehugger escaped. Within minutes, it found a host. The infection went unnoticed. For nearly 24 hours, everything proceeded normally. Then the chestburster emerged. By the time medical teams understood what had happened, the young xenomorph had already vanished into maintenance tunnels. Emergency procedures activated instantly. Security forces launched containment operations. Entire facility sectors entered lockdown. Hundreds of battle droids began systematic sweeps. The situation appeared manageable. One escaped organism hardly represented a catastrophe. Except the organism wasn't alone. Investigations quickly revealed an impossible truth. Additional facehuggers had escaped weeks earlier. Several workers had disappeared quietly. Their absences attributed to industrial accidents. Now researchers understood reality. The hive had been growing beneath them the entire time. Alarms echoed across Varni's Prime. Red emergency lights illuminated endless corridors. Battle droids flooded underground complexes while security commanders desperately attempted to establish control. They were already too late. The first major breach occurred in Sector 7. Thousands of eggs hidden within abandoned maintenance areas hatched simultaneously. Swarms of facehuggers overwhelmed technicians before security forces could respond. Minutes later, mature warriors emerged from concealed tunnels throughout the facility. The Hive attacked with terrifying coordination. Power generators were targeted first. Communications arrays second. Defensive positions third. The creatures moved with purpose. They understood the facility. Because they had studied it for weeks, perhaps months. Battle droids fought relentlessly. Blaster fire illuminated dark corridors. Explosions shook underground complexes. For a brief period, Separatist commanders believed they might contain the outbreak. Then the Queen revealed herself. No one knew how she had arrived. No one understood how long she had remained hidden. The enormous creature erupted from beneath the primary reactor chamber, accompanied by hundreds of warriors and countless drones. Security footage captured only fragments before transmission systems failed entirely. What little survived showed a monster larger than many starfighters tearing through armored blast doors as if they were paper. Panic spread instantly. Entire sectors fell within hours. Droid armies vanished beneath endless waves of xenomorphs. Scientists became hosts. Technicians became hosts. Military personnel became hosts. The Hive expanded exponentially. Above ground, orbital commanders watched helplessly as distress signals flooded communication networks. Emergency transports launched from the surface carrying refugees, survivors, and unknown biological contaminants. Several vessels escaped before quarantine protocols could activate. That mistake doomed multiple systems. By the time Dooku learned the full extent of the disaster, the infestation had already spread beyond Varney's prime. His reaction was immediate. Rage consumed him. Years of careful planning had unraveled because of incompetence, because of weakness, because of fools who failed to follow orders. Yet even as he unleashed fury upon subordinates, another realization slowly emerged. The situation might be far worse than anyone understood. Xenomorph outbreaks began appearing across Separatist territory. At first only isolated incidents occurred. A mining colony here. A cargo station there. Then entire worlds started reporting infestations. Investigation revealed horrifying patterns. Escape vessels from Varney's prime had carried infected hosts. Trade routes spread contamination. Military convoys unknowingly transported eggs. Within weeks, the biological nightmare multiplied beyond control. Separatist systems suffered the heaviest losses. Ironically, Dooku's own territory became ground zero for the expanding plague. The Republic quickly noticed. Jedi intelligence detected unusual activity throughout Confederate space. Surveillance reports indicated massive military redeployments. Entire droid armies abandoned frontline campaigns to address internal emergencies. Several key Separatist production worlds suddenly ceased communication altogether. The Clone Wars shifted dramatically. For the first time since the conflict began, Republic commanders observed genuine weakness within Confederate operations. No one knew why. Not yet. Meanwhile, the Predators watched events unfold exactly as expected. Hunter vessels tracked infestation growth with increasing concern. Their oldest records contained countless examples of civilizations making identical mistakes. Every species believed it could control the xenomorphs. Every species failed. Now an entire galaxy risked repeating history. Predator clans began coordinating on an unprecedented scale. The hunt was evolving into something larger. Not merely sport. Not merely tradition. Deep within the Force, Jedi Masters sensed growing darkness spreading across countless systems. Yet, unlike Sith corruption, this darkness felt alien. It possessed no ambition, no hatred, no desire for power. Only survival. Only reproduction. Only expansion. The Hive mind was awakening. And Count Dooku, through arrogance disguised as strategy, had given it exactly what it needed. Resources. Hosts. As infected worlds disappeared behind expanding hives and terrified populations fled into hyperspace carrying unseen horrors with them, one terrible truth became impossible to deny. The Clone Wars were no longer the galaxy's greatest conflict. Because Dooku had transformed a contained nightmare into a civilization-threatening catastrophe. And the consequences were only beginning. The Clone Wars galaxy had survived countless threats throughout its long history. Sith empires had risen and fallen. Mandalorian crusades had burned entire sectors. Ancient wars between Jedi and dark side cults had reshaped civilizations. Yet despite all those conflicts, one truth remained constant. Force users occupied a unique place within the balance of galactic power. Whether Jedi, Sith, Night Sisters, or independent mystics, individuals capable of wielding the Force possessed abilities that ordinary beings could scarcely comprehend. They could sense danger before it arrived. They could move objects without touching them. They could influence minds, predict enemy actions, and perform feats that appeared miraculous to most citizens of the Republic. To the Predators, those abilities represented something else entirely. The ultimate challenge. As more hunting clans established operations throughout the galaxy, Predator elders gathered aboard ancient vessels hidden within remote regions of space. Reports from countless hunts flowed into their command networks. Information regarding Republic soldiers, Mandalorian warriors, Separatist commanders, and Xenomorph infestations accumulated rapidly. Yet one subject consistently drew the greatest attention. Again and again, hunting parties described encounters with mysterious warriors carrying glowing energy blades. These individuals demonstrated reflexes beyond normal biology. They anticipated attacks before they occurred. Some could even detect cloaked predators despite advanced camouflage systems. For centuries, predator culture had revolved around proving superiority through the hunt. Warriors traveled across stars seeking dangerous prey worthy of their skills. Entire traditions centered upon facing stronger opponents. The greater the challenge, the greater the honor earned through victory. When reports regarding Jedi reached the Elder clans, fascination spread throughout the hunting fleets. A warrior who could sense danger before it happened. A fighter capable of deflecting plasma bolts. An opponent who relied upon instinct rather than technology. Such prey bordered on legendary. Soon, hunting priorities changed. Xenomorphs remained important. The expanding hives still represented an existential threat. But now another objective emerged. The Force users of the Star Wars galaxy had become targets. The first confirmed hunt occurred on Felucia. The vibrant jungle world had long served as a major battlefield during the Clone Wars. Giant fungal forests stretched toward emerald skies while exotic plant life covered vast landscapes in dazzling colors. Republic forces maintained several outposts across the planet, using Jedi commanders to coordinate defenses against recurring Separatist offensives. Jedi Master Aayla Secura had spent weeks overseeing operations there. Her experience, discipline, and tactical brilliance made her one of the Republic's most effective field commanders. Clone troopers respected her leadership. Fellow Jedi admired her adaptability. Enemies feared her skill with a lightsaber. None of that prepared her for what arrived. The attack began without warning. A Republic patrol vanished during a routine reconnaissance mission. Search teams discovered only scattered equipment and strange wounds unlike anything encountered previously. Several days later, another patrol disappeared. Then another. At first, commanders suspected Separatist special forces. The pattern did not fit. Battle droids typically attacked in overwhelming numbers. These disappearances felt different. Surgical. Precise. Personal. Aayla sensed something watching the jungle. The feeling lingered constantly. Sometimes it appeared at the edge of perception before vanishing completely. Other times it seemed to move through the forests around Republic positions like a phantom. The Force warned her repeatedly, yet the source remained elusive. Then the trophies appeared. Clone scouts discovered them first. Several dead Xenomorph warriors hung from massive fungal trees near abandoned Separatist territory. Their bodies displayed signs of ritualistic harvesting. Skulls had been removed. Armor-like sections of their exoskeletons were missing. Strange symbols marked nearby rocks and vegetation. The discovery immediately reminded Republic intelligence officers of earlier encounters reported on Braca Minor. Predators. The hunters had arrived on Felucia. What no one realized was that they had not come searching for xenomorphs. They had come searching for Aayla Secura. 4 days, the Predator observed her from concealment. Advanced sensors analyzed movement patterns. Thermal scanners tracked patrol routes. Every combat engagement became an opportunity for study. The hunter watched as Aayla led clone forces through dangerous territory. It observed her lightsaber techniques. It witnessed her ability to anticipate ambushes before they unfolded. The more it learned, the more convinced it became. This Jedi represented worthy prey. Not because she was vulnerable, because she was dangerous. Meanwhile, similar events unfolded elsewhere. Across multiple systems, Jedi Knights began reporting unusual encounters. Cloaked figures appeared briefly during battles before vanishing. Xenomorph hives were discovered already destroyed by unknown assailants. Entire groups of predators seemed drawn toward worlds where Force users operated. The Jedi Council noticed the pattern quickly. Within the towering halls of the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, concerns spread among senior masters. These hunters were not behaving randomly. They were selecting targets. Master Yoda sensed the truth before anyone else. The predators were testing Jedi. Measuring them, evaluating them, preparing. Unfortunately, understanding the threat did not make it easier to counter. On Felucia, the hunt finally reached its climax. Aayla and her clone escort entered a dense fungal valley while investigating another series of disappearances. The air shimmered with heat and humidity. Strange insects buzzed through colorful vegetation while distant animal calls echoed across the landscape. Everything appeared peaceful. Until every scanner failed simultaneously. Static flooded communications. Helmet displays flickered. Sensor readings vanished. The jungle fell unnaturally silent. Aayla ignited her blue lightsaber immediately. Her instinct screamed danger. Moments later, the first plasma bolt struck. The blast exploded against a massive fungal trunk mere meters away. Burning fragments rained across the valley. Clone troopers scrambled into defensive positions while searching desperately for the attacker. They found nothing. The Predator remained invisible. Another plasma bolt erupted from concealment. Then another. Then 3 more. The hunter moved constantly, never remaining in one location long enough for accurate targeting. Advanced camouflage blended perfectly with the surrounding environment. Only fleeting distortions occasionally betrayed its position. Clone troopers returned fire blindly. Most shots struck empty air. Aayla relied on the Force. She closed her eyes briefly, allowing instinct to guide perception. The jungle shifted. The hunter moved. For a fraction of a second, she sensed it. A powerful presence hidden behind technology. Disciplined. Focused. Predatory. Her lightsaber snapped upward just as a plasma blast crossed the clearing. The bolt deflected harmlessly into the sky. Surprise rippled through the unseen predator. This prey had anticipated the attack. Interesting. The hunt intensified. The predator abandoned range tactics and attacked directly. Its cloaking field disengaged as the enormous warrior launched from concealment. Wrist blades extended instantly. Metallic armor glinted beneath filtered sunlight. Clone troopers opened fire. The hunter ignored them. Its focus remained entirely upon Aayla. The Jedi met the charge head-on. Blue lightsaber clashed against alien blades. Sparks erupted. Shockwaves rippled outward. For the first time, a Predator and a Jedi engaged in direct combat. The clash astonished everyone present. Predators possessed incredible strength and speed. Their reflexes rivaled elite warriors from countless species. Combined with advanced armor and centuries of hunting experience, they represented formidable opponents. Aayla matched every attack. Her lightsaber danced through complex defensive patterns. The Force enhanced reflexes beyond natural limits. Every strike, feint, and counterattack flowed together seamlessly. The duel became a breathtaking display of skill. Neither combatant gained a clear advantage. The Predator adapted quickly. It recognized that conventional tactics would fail. So it changed strategies. Smoke devices detonated across the battlefield. Visibility vanished instantly. Thermal scanners activated. The hunter disappeared into concealment once more. Most opponents became helpless under such circumstances. A Jedi was not most opponents. Ayla relied upon the Force rather than sight. She sensed movement, intent, danger. The Predator circled silently through smoke, searching for weaknesses. It found none. Each attempted ambush met immediate resistance. Each attack encountered prepared defenses. The hunt transformed into something rare. Mutual respect. Eventually the Predator understood a crucial truth. Victory would not come easily. Perhaps not at all. That realization elevated the encounter beyond ordinary hunting. This Jedi had proven herself. The hunter disengaged suddenly. One moment it stood within striking distance. The next it leapt backward, activating cloaking systems. Confusion spread among clone troopers. Why retreat? Why abandon the fight? The answer emerged seconds later. The Predator removed a trophy from its armor. A Xenomorph skull harvested during earlier hunts. It placed the trophy on the ground before Ayla. Then it struck its chest in the same gesture witnessed previously on Braca Minor. Respect. Acknowledgement. Recognition. The hunter had not lost. The Jedi had not won. Instead, both warriors had demonstrated worthiness. The Predator vanished into the jungle. It never attacked Republic forces on Felucia again. Yet the implications spread rapidly throughout the galaxy. More encounters followed. Master Kit Fisto survived an underwater hunt on Mon Cala. Several Jedi Knights disappeared entirely while investigating Xenomorph outbreaks. Others reported duels ending similarly to Ayla's experience. Predators were not seeking extermination. They were seeking challenge. Unfortunately, not all hunters possessed identical standards. Younger-blooded warriors often ignored traditions. Rogue clans pursued glory recklessly. Some viewed Jedi as trophies rather than honorable opponents. As reports accumulated, the Jedi Council faced an increasingly uncomfortable reality. The galaxy now contained a new category of threat. Predators were not conquerors. They were not invaders. They were not allies. They occupied a far more dangerous position. Independent actors driven by ancient traditions and personal ambition. No treaty could restrain them. No military victory could eliminate them completely. And for many Predator clans, the discovery of Force users represented the greatest hunting opportunity in recorded history. Far beyond Republic space, aboard colossal hunter vessels emerging continuously from dimensional ruptures, stories regarding Jedi warriors spread among the clans. Every successful encounter elevated the reputation of Force users further. Every duel created new legends. Every battle attracted additional hunters eager to test themselves against the galaxy's most extraordinary prey. The Clone Wars had already become more complicated than anyone imagined. Xenomorph hives expanded across countless worlds. Separatist territories struggled against biological catastrophe. Predator clans established hunting grounds throughout the stars. Now the Jedi themselves had become central participants in an ancient tradition stretching across dimensions. And somewhere within the darkness of hyperspace, elder Predators were beginning to ask an even more intriguing question. If ordinary Jedi proved this challenging, what would happen when they encountered a Sith Lord? The Clone Wars had always been a conflict defined by armies. Republic clone legions fought endless campaigns against vast formations of battle droids. Massive fleets dueled across the stars while generals moved forces between thousands of contested systems. Yet as the Xenomorph infestation spread and Predator hunting clans established themselves throughout the galaxy, the nature of warfare began to change. Traditional military doctrine no longer guaranteed survival. Entire sectors disappeared despite possessing powerful defensive fleets. Planetary shields became meaningless when a single infected transport could unleash a hive from within. Commanders who focused solely on conventional threats often found themselves overwhelmed by enemies that cared nothing for territory, politics, or strategic objectives. In this new era of chaos, warriors who thrived in unpredictable environments became increasingly valuable. Few groups embodied that reality better than the Mandalorians. Across the galaxy, stories spread of Hive worlds where clone battalions vanished beneath endless swarms of Xenomorphs. Separatist armies fared little better. Even Jedi strike teams occasionally suffered devastating losses when confronting mature Hives. Yet reports also emerged of isolated victories. Small forces achieving what entire armies could not. Cities reclaimed. Queens eliminated. Infestations eradicated. Again and again, those victories shared a common factor. Mandalorians. The warrior culture of Mandalore had survived countless wars throughout galactic history. Their people respected strength above all else. Generations of conflict had forged traditions centered around adaptability, discipline, and combat excellence. Whether serving as mercenaries, clan warriors, bounty hunters, or independent soldiers, Mandalorians excelled in environments where conventional forces struggled. Against Xenomorphs, those qualities proved invaluable. Beskar armor resisted acidic blood far better than clone armor. Jetpacks provided mobility in dangerous terrain. Flamethrowers, wrist rockets, and heavy weapons offered devastating firepower against Hive concentrations. Most importantly, Mandalorians approached combat with a mentality remarkably suited for hunting dangerous prey. To many of them, Xenomorphs represented the ultimate challenge. Soon, entire clans began accepting contracts involving infected worlds. Some fought for credits. Others fought for honor. A few simply sought worthy battles. Whatever their motivations, their effectiveness became impossible to ignore. One of the most infamous campaigns unfolded on the mining world of Carthax. Located near several major hyperspace routes, the planet possessed extensive underground infrastructure and a large civilian population. It also suffered one of the worst xenomorph outbreaks yet recorded. Thousands of colonists vanished within weeks. Entire mining complexes transformed into sprawling hives. Emergency evacuation efforts collapsed as infected refugees unknowingly carried organisms aboard departing vessels. Republic and Separatist forces both attempted intervention. Both failed. The Hive expanded relentlessly. Eventually, local authorities turned to independent contractors. That decision attracted a remarkable collection of warriors. Mandalorian mercenaries arrived first. Veterans from multiple clans established defensive positions around surviving settlements. Shortly afterward came bounty hunters seeking lucrative contracts. Smugglers followed, transporting supplies and refugees while profiting enormously from the crisis. Then came something no one expected: predators. Several hunting clans had tracked the infestation to Carthax. To them, the world represented an ideal hunting ground. Xenomorph numbers continued growing. Dangerous prey existed in abundance. Honor could be earned through battle. Initially, conflict seemed inevitable. Mandalorians distrusted everyone. Predators trusted almost no one. Bounty hunters worked for whoever paid best. Smugglers cared primarily about survival and profit. The situation resembled a disaster waiting to happen. Then the Hive attacked. Thousands of xenomorphs erupted from underground tunnels simultaneously. Entire mountain ranges appeared alive as black forms surged across the landscape. Warriors, drones, runners, and specialized variants poured toward population centers in overwhelming numbers. Suddenly, ideological differences mattered far less. Everyone was about to die. The first battles became legendary almost immediately. Mandalorian gunships streaked through smoke-filled skies while unleashing rocket barrages against advancing swarms. Heavy blaster cannons transformed entire sections of the battlefield into infernos. Warriors equipped with Beskar armor fought hand-to-hand against xenomorphs, enduring attacks that would have killed ordinary soldiers instantly. Nearby, predator hunting parties pursued their own objectives. Unlike the Mandalorians, they focused primarily on elite targets. Warriors stalked through the chaos searching for Praetorians, Hive Guardians, and specialized combat organisms. Cloaking technology allowed them to move unseen while plasma casters delivered devastating precision strikes. The two groups observed each other constantly. Neither side trusted the other. Yet mutual respect emerged quickly. Predators admired courage. Mandalorians respected skill. Both found those qualities in abundance. One battle in particular became the foundation of an unlikely alliance. Near Carthax's largest surviving city, a massive Praetorian assault shattered defensive lines. Hundreds of Xenomorphs breached perimeter fortifications simultaneously. Civilian evacuation routes collapsed. Mandalorian defenders found themselves surrounded on multiple fronts. The situation deteriorated rapidly. Even experienced warriors struggled against such numbers. Several clans prepared for a final stand. Then invisible figures emerged from the smoke. Predators. A dozen elite hunters descended directly into the swarm. Plasma bolts carved through charging xenomorphs while wrist blades flashed repeatedly amid the chaos. Their intervention created enough breathing room for Mandalorian commanders to reorganize defenses. For several hours, the two groups fought side by side. No formal agreement existed. No alliance had been negotiated. Survival simply demanded cooperation. The battle's climax occurred when a queen emerged from beneath the city itself. The enormous creature towered above surrounding structures. Its armored body shrugged off heavy weapons. Fire. Every movement scattered defenders like leaves before a storm. Ordinarily, such a monster would have required military-level firepower to destroy. Instead, it faced something far worse. Determined hunters. Mandalorian heavy infantry launched coordinated attacks while Predator warriors targeted vulnerable areas identified through centuries of Hive combat experience. Rockets, plasma bolts, flamethrowers, and explosives converged simultaneously. The Queen fought with terrifying ferocity. Dozens died. Neither side retreated. Eventually, after hours of brutal combat, the creature finally collapsed. Its death marked a turning point. The city survived. More importantly, a fragile understanding emerged between the hunters and warriors. News spread rapidly. Across the galaxy, similar arrangements began appearing elsewhere. Hive worlds created strange alliances. Mandalorian clans occasionally cooperated with predator hunting parties. Smugglers exchanged information regarding infestations. Bounty hunters accepted contracts targeting queens and Hive leaders. Entire networks formed around combating the biological nightmare. Naturally, not every encounter remained peaceful. Some Mandalorians viewed predators as rivals. Certain predator clans considered Mandalorians worthy prey. Violence erupted frequently. One infamous confrontation occurred on Enershada. The smuggler's moon had become a hub for information, black market weapon sales, and Hive intelligence. Every major criminal syndicate maintained operations there. Hut cartels, bounty hunters, mercenary companies, and independent traders all sought profit from the ongoing crisis. When a young predator-blooded warrior challenged a renowned Mandalorian champion publicly, neither side backed down. The duel lasted nearly an hour. Crowds watched from rooftops and landing platforms as two masters of combat tested one another. Jetpacks roared through the polluted skies. Plasma weapons illuminated dark alleyways. Beskar blades clashed against alien weaponry. Neither combatant achieved decisive victory. Instead, both earned admiration. The duel ended not with death but recognition, a pattern increasingly common between the two warrior cultures. Elsewhere, smugglers discovered another unexpected role within the conflict. Traditional military forces often struggled to reach isolated systems quickly. Political restrictions slowed response times. Bureaucratic procedures delayed action. Smugglers ignored such limitations entirely. Fast ships and flexible morals made them ideal couriers. Many began transporting warnings regarding outbreaks. Others evacuated civilians from doomed worlds. Some smuggled weapons and supplies into quarantine zones. Not all acted altruistically. Many grew rich from the crisis. Yet countless lives were saved regardless. Figures like Hondo Ohnaka built entire operations around exploiting, and occasionally helping manage, the spreading disaster. Even bounty hunters found new opportunities. Contracts involving Hive extermination became some of the most lucrative in galactic history. Elite hunters earned fortunes targeting queens, recovering specimens, or rescuing high-value individuals from infested regions. Among them, a handful developed particularly fearsome reputations. Their names became synonymous with impossible missions. Their exploits spread through cantinas, military briefings, and underworld networks alike. Meanwhile, the Jedi Council observed these developments with cautious optimism. For the first time since the infestation began, meaningful resistance was emerging outside traditional military structures. Independent actors adapted faster than governments. Warriors motivated by honor, survival, or profit often succeeded where organized armies failed. Yet beneath these victories lurked a troubling reality. The Hive continued growing. Every queen destroyed seemed replaced by two more. Every world reclaimed revealed additional infestations elsewhere. The galaxy was learning how to fight. But the enemy was learning as well. Deep within countless Hive networks spread across the stars, Xenomorph queens exchanged biological information through means still poorly understood. New strains appeared. New tactics emerged. Specialized castes evolved in response to local conditions. Some hives adapted specifically to combat Mandalorians. Others developed countermeasures against predator hunting techniques. The war itself was driving evolution. That realization terrified even the oldest predator elders. Because they understood something few others did. The Xenomorphs had not yet reached their final form. As Mandalorian clans forged legends on burning Hive worlds, bounty hunters amassed fortunes, smugglers raced through dangerous hyperspace routes, and predator warriors continued their ancient hunts across the galaxy, the conflict expanded into something unprecedented. No longer merely an invasion. No longer merely a war. It had become an ecosystem of violence stretching across thousands of stars. And somewhere within the darkness, hidden beyond known space, forces far older than the individual hives were beginning to stir. The monsters invading the galaxy were evolving. And soon, every warrior who had survived this long would discover that the true nightmare had not yet arrived. The realization came to Darth Sidious not through fear, but through mathematics. For decades he had orchestrated the downfall of the Republic with the patience of a master Dejeric player moving pieces across an enormous board. Every conflict, every political crisis, every military defeat and victory had been carefully manipulated to guide the galaxy toward a singular outcome. The Clone Wars were never intended to produce a victor. They existed to exhaust the Republic, weaken the Jedi Order, and create the conditions necessary for the birth of the Galactic Empire. Every clone trooper marching beneath the Republic banner, every battle droid deployed by the Separatists, every senator arguing inside the Galactic Senate unknowingly served his design. Now, for the first time since the war began, Darth Sidious found himself studying projections that threatened not merely part of his plan, but all of it. Deep beneath Coruscant, hidden inside chambers few beings knew existed, crimson holograms illuminated the darkness. Star systems glowed across the display table while streams of intelligence flowed from every corner of known space. Reports from Republic commanders, Separatist spies, criminal syndicates, and Sith operatives painted a picture that became more horrifying with each passing day. The Xenomorph infestation was no longer a localized crisis. It was becoming a galactic extinction event. Entire sectors had vanished into silence. Colonies once home to millions now contained nothing but hive structures stretching across continents. Agricultural worlds responsible for feeding neighboring systems had become breeding grounds producing billions of organisms. Trade routes were collapsing. Refugee fleets clogged hyperspace corridors. Military deployments intended for Clone Wars campaigns were being redirected toward containment operations. Most alarming of all was the rate of growth. The creatures multiplied faster than any military force could destroy them. Sidious studied the data in silence. The Republic could still win battles. The Separatists could still win battles. Neither side could win against arithmetic. Every world lost became a new hive. Every hive became multiple hives. Every military defeat fed future infestations. The galaxy was approaching a point where victory would become statistically impossible. For the first time in years, uncertainty entered the Dark Lord's calculations. Nearby, Count Dooku appeared through a secure holographic transmission. The Separatist leader looked older than he had months earlier. Exhaustion lined his features. Entire sectors under Confederacy control had become war zones unlike anything envisioned during the formation of the Separatist alliance. Dooku had once believed he could weaponize the Xenomorphs. The consequences of that arrogance now haunted him daily. Factories producing battle droids had been overrun. Corporate worlds funding the war effort had fallen. Entire armies had disappeared. The Confederacy remained functional only because countless droid forces could continue fighting without food, sleep, or morale. Yet even those advantages were proving insufficient. Xenomorphs adapted relentlessly. They learned. They evolved. They found weaknesses. Sidious listened as Dooku described the latest disasters unfolding across Separatist territory. Entire planetary defense networks had failed. Underground hives had spread beneath cities unnoticed for months. Civilian populations were evacuating by the billions. Military commanders increasingly ignored political directives in favor of simple survival. The clone wars themselves were beginning to fracture beneath the pressure. When the transmission ended, Sidious remained motionless. For years he had viewed Dooku as a disposable apprentice. Now he viewed him as a warning. Even powerful individuals could lose control of forces they believed they commanded. The Sith Lord shifted his attention toward another series of reports. These concerned the Predators. Unlike the Xenomorphs, the Hunters remained manageable. Dangerous. Deadly. Unpredictable. But manageable. Predator clans appeared interested in containing the infestation nearly as much as they were interested in hunting Jedi. Entire Predator fleets had been observed attacking Hive worlds with extraordinary aggression. Their motivations remained unclear to most observers, but intelligence suggested ancient history connected the Hunters and the creatures they pursued. Whatever that history contained, it was powerful enough to drive the Predators into wars that resembled extermination campaigns. Sidious found the development fascinating. The Hunters viewed Xenomorphs not as allies or weapons. They viewed them as sacred prey. That distinction mattered. It created opportunities. The Dark Lord began considering possibilities. If the Hunters could be manipulated against the Hives, they might slow the infestation without realizing they served a greater strategy. Unfortunately, the numbers remained discouraging. Even Predator fleets could not destroy Hive worlds as quickly as new ones emerged. The problem had grown beyond any single faction's ability to contain. Meanwhile, elsewhere within Coruscant, the Jedi Council faced identical conclusions. Masters Yoda, Mace Windu, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the remaining council members reviewed casualty reports that stretched across thousands of systems. The Force itself felt wounded. Entire planets had become voids of suffering. Billions of lives extinguished. Countless more threatened. Yoda sat in meditation while distant thunder echoed beyond the temple windows. Something fundamental was changing within the galaxy. The Clone Wars had long represented a spiritual crisis. The Xenomorph infestation represented something far worse. Extinction. Not conquest. Not tyranny. Not political corruption. Extinction. The distinction carried enormous weight. The Force flowed through all living things. What happened if enough living things vanished? The question disturbed even ancient Jedi Masters. Far away from Coruscant, the reality of the crisis unfolded with brutal clarity on the world of Ordvraxis. The planet had once been contested territory between Republic and Separatist forces. Months earlier, clone armies and battle droids fought endlessly across its deserts and industrial cities. Now neither side controlled the world. The Xenomorphs did. Vast hive structures covered continents. Towering organic spires pierced cloud layers. The atmosphere itself had begun changing as biological processes altered environmental conditions. Republic reconnaissance ships observing from orbit compared the planet to a living organism. The world was no longer a battlefield. It was becoming an egg. Similar transformations were occurring elsewhere. One hive world became 5. 5 became 20. 20 became 50. Every projection worsened. Every estimate predicted catastrophe. Across hyperspace routes, refugee fleets moved continuously. Civilian vessels packed with survivors fled infested systems carrying stories that sounded like nightmares. Families vanished during routine inspections. Space stations collapsed after hidden infestations emerged. Military outposts disappeared overnight. Even heavily fortified worlds proved vulnerable if a single organism reached the surface. Fear spread faster than the creatures themselves. Entire sectors descended into panic. Criminal syndicates expanded operations by exploiting refugees. Black markets flourished. Pirates attacked evacuation convoys. Local governments collapsed beneath the strain. The fabric of galactic civilization began tearing apart. Sidious watched it all unfold. For years he had manipulated fear as a weapon. Now fear threatened to become uncontrollable. That possibility was unacceptable. Because if society collapsed completely, there would be nothing left to rule. The future emperor required an empire. The Xenomorphs threatened to leave only ruins. Within his hidden sanctuary, Sidious activated communications channels reaching some of his most secret operatives. Instructions spread across the galaxy. Information gathering intensified. Ancient Sith archives were searched. Forgotten weapons projects were reopened. Experimental technologies previously deemed too dangerous received renewed funding. Anything capable of slowing the infestation became valuable. Even forbidden knowledge attracted interest. The Sith Lord rarely feared anything, but he respected existential threats. The Xenomorphs qualified. Elsewhere, General Grievous launched brutal campaigns against Hive worlds using overwhelming orbital bombardment. Entire continents burned beneath Separatist firepower. Clone commanders employed similar tactics. Military doctrine changed rapidly. Containment became more important than occupation. Planetary destruction became increasingly acceptable. Worlds were sacrificed to save sectors. Sectors were sacrificed to save regions. The scale of decision-making grew darker with each passing month. And still the infestation spread. Reports from Mandalorian space offered little comfort. Even hardened warrior clans struggled against Hive incursions. Entire fortresses had fallen. Veteran hunters disappeared. Predators and Mandalorians fought side by side in some campaigns and against each other in others, but neither group possessed enough numbers to change the broader trajectory. The galaxy was losing. Not quickly. Not decisively. But steadily. That reality haunted everyone from Jedi Masters to criminal leaders. For the first time in the Clone Wars, survival itself became more important than victory. Late one evening, as rain lashed against the towering skylines of Coruscant, Darth Sidious stood alone overlooking the city planet. Countless lights stretched beyond the horizon. Billions of citizens continued living their lives below. Most remained unaware of how close civilization had come to disaster. The Sith Lord closed his eyes. He reached outward through the dark side. Across immense distances he sensed conflict. The galaxy trembled. Yet beneath everything else, another sensation emerged. Hunger. The same hunger that had accompanied the creatures since their arrival. Cold. Endless. Insatiable. For a moment, Sidious glimpsed something terrifying. Not merely the current infestation. Not merely the Hive world's already consuming systems. He saw potential futures. Entire regions transformed into organic wastelands. Star systems stripped of life. Civilizations erased. The Republic gone. The Separatists gone. The Jedi extinct. The Sith extinct. Nothing remaining except endless hives spreading from world to world. Even the Dark Lord felt a chill. The vision vanished almost immediately. But the warning remained. Order 66. The destruction of the Jedi. The rise of the Empire. All of it depended on the galaxy surviving long enough to reach that future. And for the first time since initiating the Clone Wars, Darth Sidious began considering an unthinkable possibility. If the infestation continued growing at its current pace, he might be forced to reveal assets he had hidden for decades. He might be forced to accelerate parts of his plan. He might even be forced into temporary cooperation with enemies he intended to destroy later. Because the Abyss staring back from the expanding Hive worlds cared nothing for Sith ambitions. It cared nothing for Jedi ideals. It cared nothing for politics, power, or destiny. It only consumed. And as the war against the Xenomorphs entered a darker phase, Darth Sidious finally understood a truth he had spent his entire life avoiding. There were some threats so vast that even the dark side could not control them. The Abyss had arrived. And it was still growing. Kamino had survived storms that could tear continents apart. For generations, the ocean world had endured endless tempests rolling across black waters beneath skies filled with thunder and lightning. Towering cities balanced atop immense stilts rose from the sea like monuments to science itself, their gleaming white structures illuminated by flashes of electric blue light. To most beings across the galaxy, Kamino represented one thing above all else: the birthplace of the Grand Army of the Republic. Every clone trooper fighting in the Clone Wars traced his existence back to the laboratories hidden within those storm-racked cities. Every victory achieved by the Republic depended upon facilities that stood above the endless oceans of that isolated world. To Darth Sidious, Kamino represented something even more important. It was the foundation of his future empire. Without the clone army, the Republic could not sustain the war. Without the war, his political rise would falter. Without the clones, Order 66 could never be executed. Kamino was not merely a strategic asset. It was the cornerstone upon which decades of Sith planning rested. Which was why the first report emerging from the world seemed impossible. The message arrived fragmented and incomplete. Communication interruptions plagued the transmission. Emergency alerts overrode standard military channels. Then came the words that immediately triggered panic among Republic intelligence officers. Unidentified biological contamination detected. Cloning facility lockdown initiated. Containment failure possible. For several seconds, no one fully grasped the implications. Then the reports continued. And understanding became terror. The Xenomorphs had reached Kamino. The infestation had not arrived through a fleet assault or planetary invasion. There were no orbital bombardments. No Hive ships emerging from hyperspace. No warning signs visible to long-range scanners. Instead, the creatures had arrived through a method horrifyingly simple in its effectiveness. A damaged refugee transport fleeing an infested outer rim system had requested emergency assistance weeks earlier. The vessel appeared clean. Medical examinations revealed nothing unusual. Passengers were relocated. Supplies were distributed. Records were archived. Life continued normally. Hidden deep within maintenance compartments and cargo storage areas, however, several dormant xenomorph eggs had survived unnoticed. The mistake would cost billions. Across Tipoca City, Kaminoan scientists initially failed to recognize the danger. The species responsible for creating the clone army possessed extraordinary scientific expertise, but they lacked experience dealing with an organism unlike anything encountered in galactic history. By the time the first disappearances occurred, the infestation had already spread. Technicians vanished. Security personnel disappeared. Maintenance workers stopped reporting for duty. Surveillance footage revealed only fleeting glimpses of dark figures moving through corridors before systems mysteriously malfunctioned. The Kaminoans launched investigations. Investigators never returned. Within days, entire laboratory sections fell silent. Emergency teams dispatched to search the affected areas encountered nightmare scenes hidden beneath the pristine surfaces of the cloning facilities. Walls coated in organic resin. Victims cocooned alive. Egg chambers growing within ventilation networks. And creatures multiplying faster than containment efforts could respond. The situation became catastrophic when the infestation reached the cloning sectors. Because Kamino contained something no other Hive world possessed. An industrial-scale population growth system. Millions of cloning tanks stretched through enormous chambers beneath the cities. Advanced genetic laboratories operated continuously. Biological engineering technologies surpassed almost every civilization in the galaxy. The Xenomorphs had discovered the perfect breeding ground. The implications horrified everyone who understood them. On Coruscant, emergency meetings erupted within both military and political circles. Republic High Command reviewed incoming intelligence with growing disbelief. Jedi Masters exchanged grim expressions as casualty estimates climbed. Even hardened clone commanders struggled to process what was happening. The infestation was not merely threatening Kamino. It was adapting to Kamino. Initial reconnaissance suggested the creatures were infiltrating cloning facilities and utilizing genetic resources on a scale never previously observed. Scientists feared outcomes too terrible to predict. Could xenomorphs reproduce using clone genetic material? Could they exploit Kaminoan technology? Could they create entirely new variants specifically engineered for warfare? No one knew. That uncertainty made the crisis infinitely worse. Supreme Chancellor Palpatine publicly ordered immediate intervention. Privately, Darth Sidious felt something dangerously close to alarm. Kamino could not fall. Not yet. The timing was unacceptable. His plans remained incomplete. The Jedi still lived. The Republic still required further manipulation. The future Empire had not yet been born. Losing Kamino now would jeopardize everything. Within hours, Republic fleets began mobilizing. Venator-class star destroyers departed from multiple sectors. Clone reinforcements were redirected from active war zones. Jedi strike teams assembled for emergency deployment. Even commanders who rarely cooperated found themselves united by necessity. Kamino had to be saved. Failure was not an option. Unfortunately, reality cared little for intentions. When the First Republic task force arrived above Kamino, the situation proved far worse than anticipated. Lightning illuminated horrifying sights beneath the storm clouds. Several outlying facilities no longer responded to communications. Entire sections of infrastructure appeared damaged. Emergency beacons flashed continuously. Power fluctuations rolled across city networks. Most disturbing of all were the sensor readings emerging from beneath the oceans. Organic activity levels had exploded. Massive biological structures were forming below the surface. The Hive was expanding rapidly. Jedi General Obi-Wan Kenobi stood aboard a command vessel overlooking the world as reports flooded into operations centers. The normally composed Jedi Master felt unease growing with every update. Clone troopers were among the finest soldiers in the galaxy. Disciplined, loyal, effective. The thought of xenomorphs gaining access to cloning technologies capable of producing millions of organisms was almost unimaginable. Yet evidence increasingly suggested exactly that. Landing operations commenced immediately. Republic forces deployed throughout Tipoca City. Clone troopers advanced through rain-soaked corridors while Jedi teams investigated compromised sectors. The atmosphere inside the facilities felt wrong. Lights flickered intermittently. Warning sirens echoed through distant hallways. Water dripped from ceilings despite sophisticated environmental controls. Most unsettling was the silence. Large portions of the city appeared abandoned. Then the attacks began. Xenomorph warriors erupted from maintenance shafts and ventilation systems with terrifying speed. The creatures moved through the laboratory complexes like living shadows. Blaster fire illuminated black exoskeletons. Acid blood hissed across metal flooring. Clone formations held remarkably well, but every engagement revealed a disturbing pattern. The creatures seemed organized, coordinated, smarter than expected. Almost as though the Hive itself was evolving. Further exploration uncovered the reason. Deep beneath the primary cloning facilities, researchers discovered chambers unlike anything previously encountered. Gigantic hive structures surrounded active cloning equipment. Organic growths intertwined with Kaminoan technology. Biological matter and advanced science had become grotesquely interconnected. The Hive was learning. Worse, it was experimenting. Several recovered specimens displayed unusual genetic traits. Increased size, enhanced durability, greater intelligence. Scientists immediately feared the unthinkable. The xenomorphs were adapting using Kamino's genetic resources. Every hour increased the risk of entirely new castes emerging. creatures designed specifically to conquer galactic civilization. News of the discoveries spread rapidly through military channels. Panic followed. Elsewhere across the galaxy, reactions varied dramatically. Count Dooku viewed the crisis with mixed emotions. Part of him recognized the strategic opportunity. Kamino's destruction would cripple the Republic. Another part understood the broader danger. If the Hive succeeded, the Republic would not be the only casualty. The Confederacy would eventually follow. General Grievous offered a more direct assessment. Destroy the planet. Orbital bombardment. No survivors. No Hive. Simple. Many Separatist commanders agreed. Republic officers privately reached identical conclusions. The problem was political reality. Kamino remained essential. The cloning infrastructure could not be replaced easily. Destroying the world meant sacrificing the Republic's military future. Saving it meant risking something far worse. The dilemma grew darker with every passing hour. Meanwhile, within the depths of the Hive, something unprecedented was occurring. The Xenomorph queen overseeing the infestation had discovered genetic archives containing information on millions of clone templates. The biological intelligence directing the Hive did not understand politics. It did not understand war. But it understood adaptation, opportunity, evolution. The cloning facilities represented an evolutionary treasure beyond anything encountered before. The Hive began changing accordingly. New organisms emerged from hidden chambers. Larger specimens. Faster specimens. Creatures displaying unusual behavioral patterns. The nightmare many feared was becoming reality. The Xenomorphs were evolving into something new. Something designed specifically for the Clone Wars galaxy. When these developments reached Coruscant, even Darth Sidious abandoned all pretense of patience. Secret orders spread immediately. Additional fleets deployed. Special operations units activated. Intelligence resources shifted toward Kamino. For perhaps the first time in decades, the Sith Lord found himself reacting to events rather than controlling them. That fact alone revealed the scale of the threat. As battles intensified across the ocean world, storms continued raging overhead. Lightning illuminated Venator destroyers hanging above the atmosphere. Gunships streaked through rain clouds. Explosions flashed beneath the dark skies. Clone troopers fought desperately to secure laboratories. Jedi Masters carved through swarms of creatures. Entire sections of Tipoca City became war zones. Yet despite their efforts, the infestation continued spreading. Every victory seemed temporary. Every cleared corridor became contested again hours later. The Hive simply possessed too many advantages. Hidden tunnels. Countless eggs. Rapid reproduction. Endless aggression. The defenders were fighting a nightmare that refused to die. And beneath the crashing waves surrounding Kamino, beyond the reach of most sensors, vast organic structures continued growing in darkness. The Republic still believed it was battling for a world. The truth was far worse. It was battling for the future of the galaxy itself. Because if the Hive fully mastered Kamino's cloning technologies, the result would not merely be another infestation. It would be an army. An army capable of reproducing on an industrial scale. An army capable of replacing losses almost instantly. An army capable of overwhelming Republic fleets, Separatist armadas, Mandalorian warriors, and Predator hunters alike. For the first time since the invasion began, extinction no longer seemed like a distant possibility. It felt imminent. And as thunder rolled across Kamino's endless oceans, the fate of civilization balanced upon the edge of a blade. The galaxy had fought countless wars across its long and turbulent history. Ancient Sith empires had clashed with the Jedi Order in conflicts that consumed entire generations. Mandalorian crusades had swept across star systems like wildfire. Separatist fleets and Republic armadas now battled across thousands of worlds as the Clone Wars continued to rage. Yet none of those struggles had ever threatened existence itself. Civilizations had risen and fallen. Governments had collapsed and been rebuilt. Empires had shattered into fragments. Through every catastrophe, life endured. The Xenomorph infestation changed that equation entirely. For the first time in recorded galactic history, every major power faced an enemy that could not be reasoned with, negotiated with, bribed, manipulated, or conquered through conventional means. The Hive sought neither territory nor political influence. It did not desire wealth, ideology, or revenge. It existed only to reproduce, expand, and consume. Every world transformed into a hive became another factory for extinction. Every battle lost accelerated a future in which no civilization would survive. The discovery of the largest hive ever encountered forced even the galaxy's bitterest enemies to accept a truth none of them wished to acknowledge. They would either fight together or die separately. The Hive world had once been known as Gehenna Prime, an industrial planet located deep within a strategically important sector near major hyperspace routes. Before the infestation, billions had lived beneath its crimson skies. Vast manufacturing cities stretched across continents while orbital shipyards produced military hardware for both legal governments and private corporations. The planet had possessed everything the Xenomorphs needed to become something far more dangerous than a simple breeding ground. It possessed infrastructure. Months after contact was lost, long-range reconnaissance missions finally penetrated the surrounding quarantine zone. The images they transmitted back horrified every military analyst who reviewed them. Gehenna Prime no longer resembled a world. It resembled a living organism. Gigantic hive structures covered entire continents. Organic towers rose hundreds of kilometers into the atmosphere. Vast biological growths connected cities into a single planetary superstructure. Oceans boiled with strange activity. Entire mountain ranges had disappeared beneath black resin. Sensor scans indicated life sign counts so enormous that computers initially rejected the data as impossible. They were not impossible. The hive contained billions of organisms. And at its center rested something even worse. Multiple queens. The revelation stunned military planners. Until now, every major infestation had revolved around a single dominant queen. The existence of several queens operating simultaneously suggested the hive had evolved beyond previous expectations. Gehenna Prime was no longer merely a colony. It had become a capital. A central command structure directing infestations throughout neighboring sectors. Destroying it would not end the war. But failing to destroy it would guarantee defeat. Across the galaxy, emergency communications spread with unprecedented urgency. Republic High Command suspended major offensive operations against Separatist territory. Confederacy leadership redirected entire fleets away from active war zones. Mandalorian clans received requests for assistance. Predator hunting fleets altered course toward the system. Even ancient rivalries suddenly appeared insignificant. Extinction had become the only enemy that mattered. On Coruscant, Jedi Masters gathered inside the temple's strategic command center. Holographic projections displayed the hive world rotating slowly above the central table while military experts explained casualty projections. The numbers were staggering. Any assault carried catastrophic risks. Yet refusing to act would produce worse outcomes. Master Yoda listened in silence while generals debated strategies. Around him stood Obi-Wan Kenobi, Mace Windu, Plo Koon, Ki-Adi-Mundi, and numerous other Jedi commanders. The Force felt strained, burdened by suffering on a scale difficult to comprehend. Billions of deaths echoed through its currents. Entire ecosystems had vanished. The imbalance grew stronger every day. Yoda sensed something else as well. Fragile. Fading. But present. For the first time since the invasion began, the galaxy was preparing to fight as one. Elsewhere, Count Dooku reviewed identical intelligence from the Separatist side of the conflict. The former Jedi understood better than most how dangerous the situation had become. Entire Confederacy sectors now bordered Hive-controlled territory. Production losses mounted daily. Corporate leaders who once cared only about profit now feared annihilation. Even General Grievous abandoned his usual obsession with destroying Jedi. The cyborg commander wanted the Hive eradicated. Nothing else mattered. Meanwhile, aboard hidden predator vessels orbiting distant systems, ancient hunting clans prepared for war unlike any in their recorded history. The hunters had battled xenomorphs for centuries, perhaps millennia. But Gehenna Prime represented something unprecedented. An alpha hive. A breeding center beyond anything previously encountered. To the predators, destroying it became a sacred obligation. Failure would dishonor every clan throughout their civilization. Success would earn glory beyond imagination. Across hyperspace, fleets began moving. The largest military armada assembled during the Clone Wars gathered around a single objective. Republic Venators emerged from hyperspace in endless formations. Separatist battleships arrived moments later. Mandalorian cruisers joined the growing force. Predator warships drifted among them like silent specters. Smugglers, mercenaries, and independent defense forces volunteered as well. The sight would have seemed impossible months earlier. Enemies standing together. Former rivals coordinating operations. Jedi and Separatists sharing tactical data. Mandalorians fighting alongside clone troopers. Yet the Hive had rewritten every rule. As the combined fleet approached Gehenna Prime, the scale of the challenge became terrifyingly clear. The world appeared wounded, corrupted, alive. Organic structures stretched into orbit, creating defensive networks unlike conventional military fortifications. Countless biological vessels surrounded the planet. Swarms of flying organisms filled nearby space. Massive creatures moved across the surface in numbers impossible to calculate. The Hive had transformed itself into a fortress. And it knew they were coming. The battle began immediately. The largest space engagement of the Clone Wars erupted above Gehenna Prime. Turbolasers illuminated darkness. Missiles streaked across vacuum. Separatist battleships unleashed enormous barrages while Republic carriers deployed thousands of starfighters. Mandalorian gunships darted through combat zones with characteristic aggression. Predator vessels employed advanced weaponry rarely observed by outsiders. The Hive responded with terrifying ferocity. Organic warships emerged from hidden positions. Biological projectiles slammed into capital ships. Entire squadrons vanished beneath swarms of flying creatures. The battle rapidly devolved into chaos. Yet despite enormous losses, the combined fleet continued advancing. Because retreat meant extinction. Below, planetary assault forces launched simultaneous invasions across multiple continents. Clone troopers descended through fire-filled skies aboard LAT gunships. Battle droids deployed from Separatist transports. Mandalorian warriors dropped directly into combat zones using jetpacks and heavy weapons. Jedi strike teams led the advance while Predator hunting parties pursued high-value targets. Everywhere they landed, war awaited them. The Hive defended itself with unimaginable numbers. Endless waves of xenomorphs surged from tunnels and structures. Acid blood transformed battlefields into lethal hazards. Massive warrior castes smashed through armored formations. Flying variants attacked aircraft. New mutations created using Kaminoan genetic material displayed abilities never previously encountered. The nightmare had evolved. Combat became brutally personal. Clone troopers fought shoulder to shoulder with warriors they would have considered enemies weeks earlier. Battle droids provided covering fire for Jedi advances. Mandalorians rescued wounded Republic soldiers. Predator hunters stalked monstrous prey through burning Hive corridors. Necessity accomplished what politics never could. Unity. Deep within the planet, elite assault teams pursued the true objective. The Queens. Military intelligence believed destroying the central leadership structure would destabilize the Hive long enough for orbital forces to complete planetary sterilization. The mission required impossible odds. Multiple strike teams entered the deepest regions of Gehenna Prime simultaneously. Obi-Wan Kenobi led one group. Mace Windu led another. Separatist commandos advanced through separate tunnels. Predator clan leaders hunted alongside them. Every meter gained required blood. Every victory came at terrible cost. The deeper they traveled, the stranger the Hive became. Gigantic chambers stretched beyond visibility. Organic architecture merged with remnants of ancient cities. Countless eggs filled cavernous spaces. The air smelled of acid, decay, and biological corruption. The planet itself seemed alive. Then they found the queens. The sight surpassed every nightmare. Several colossal queens occupied a central chamber larger than entire cities. Organic structures connected them into a vast intelligence network coordinating infestations throughout neighboring sectors. Millions of drones surrounded the chamber. Destroying them would not be easy. The final battle began. Lightsabers ignited. Blaster fire erupted. Predator weapons discharged brilliant energy bursts. The chamber exploded into violence. Waves of xenomorphs attacked from every direction. Clone troopers formed defensive perimeters while Jedi carved through impossible numbers. Mandalorians unleashed flamethrowers and explosives. Predator hunters challenged gigantic warrior castes in brutal close combat. The queens responded by directing the full fury of the Hive against the invaders. Entire assault teams vanished. Heroes fell. Veterans died. Yet the offensive continued. No one retreated. No one surrendered. Because everyone understood the stakes. This was not a battle for territory. Not a battle for political power. Not a battle for ideology. It was a battle for the right of civilization to exist. Far above, the space battle intensified as additional Hive reinforcements emerged. Republic and Separatist fleets suffered catastrophic losses. Entire capital ships burned in orbit. Starfighters filled the skies like swarms of insects. And still the combined armada fought. Across Gehenna Prime, thousands of separate battles merged into one desperate struggle. The war against extinction had reached its climax. Every faction, every species, every warrior, united against a nightmare determined to consume the stars themselves. And before the battle ended, the galaxy would learn whether cooperation had come too late. Because victory remained uncertain. And extinction was still only one defeat away. The battle for Gehenna Prime had raged for nearly 2 standard days, yet time had lost all meaning amid the endless violence consuming the Hive world. Across continents transformed into living fortresses, clone troopers, battle droids, Mandalorian warriors, Jedi Knights, Sith operatives, predator hunting clans, and countless independent fighters continued advancing through conditions that would have shattered ordinary armies. Entire landscapes burned beneath orbital bombardment while gigantic organic towers collapsed into seas of black resin and acid. The atmosphere itself had become choked with smoke, spores, and electrical storms generated by the dying Hive's biological systems. Every kilometer of progress had been purchased with sacrifice. Every victory had come at a terrible cost. Yet despite the unimaginable destruction, one truth remained painfully clear. The Hive was still alive. At the center of Gehenna Prime, deep beneath layers of organic architecture larger than cities, the primary queen endured. The other queens had fallen. Several strike teams had succeeded in eliminating regional Hive leaders, disrupting portions of the planetary network and creating moments of confusion among the billions of organisms spread across the world. Entire sectors of the infestation had temporarily descended into disorder. But the primary queen remained untouched. And unlike the lesser queens, this creature was something entirely new. Something evolved. Something terrifying. As assault forces pushed deeper into the Hive's core, evidence of that evolution became impossible to ignore. The creature had spent months absorbing genetic material gathered from countless species across the galaxy. Human, Zobrek, Wookiee, Kaminoan, Mandalorian. Even traces of Force-sensitive DNA harvested from fallen Jedi and captured victims had somehow become incorporated into the Hive's biological experiments. The result was a monster unlike anything that had ever existed. The Queen's chamber lay buried beneath hundreds of kilometers of organic growth. Vast tunnels larger than starship hangars converged toward a colossal central cavern illuminated by pulsating biological light. The walls appeared alive, breathing and shifting with disturbing rhythm. Rivers of acidic fluid flowed through enormous channels carved into the Hive structure. Towering egg chambers stretched into darkness beyond visibility. And in the center sat the Queen. Even battle-hardened veterans struggled to comprehend her size. The creature dwarfed every previous queen encountered during the war. Her body resembled a living fortress. Massive armored plates covered her exoskeleton. Enormous limbs anchored her to organic structures larger than buildings. Countless sensory organs tracked movement throughout the chamber. The immense crown extending from her skull seemed almost regal, as though the Hive itself had elevated her beyond simple biology into something approaching monarchy. More disturbing was the intelligence visible in her movements. This was not merely an animal. This was a strategist. A commander. A living embodiment of the infestation threatening the galaxy. As Republic and Separatist forces converged upon the chamber, the Queen reacted immediately. The Hive responded as one. Across Gehenna Prime, billions of Xenomorphs suddenly altered behavior. Defensive operations ceased. Territorial priorities disappeared. Every available organism received a single directive: protect the Queen. The resulting counterattack nearly shattered the offensive. Entire battalions vanished beneath tidal waves of creatures. Republic gunships fell from the skies. Separatist armor columns disappeared beneath swarming organisms. Mandalorian clans found themselves surrounded by numbers beyond comprehension. Even predator hunting parties suffered heavy casualties as elite warrior castes emerged from hidden tunnels. The Hive was sacrificing everything, and that made it more dangerous than ever. Far above the surface, the space battle reached equally catastrophic levels. Hive vessels launched desperate attacks against the combined fleet while organic spores spread through nearby orbital zones. Republic and Separatist commanders abandoned traditional tactics in favor of simple survival. Entire capital ships rammed enemy targets. Fighter squadrons flew missions with little expectation of returning. The war had become absolute. No faction remained untouched. No participant retained reserves. Everything would be decided here. Within the depths of the Hive, the final assault force continued advancing. Obi-Wan Kenobi led surviving Jedi through collapsing tunnel networks. Clone commanders coordinated defenses despite catastrophic losses. Mandalorian warriors fought with characteristic ferocity. Predator clan leaders pursued the Queen with relentless determination. Among them moved another figure, Count Dooku. The former Jedi Master had arrived with a small contingent of Separatist survivors after fighting his way through impossible odds. Months earlier, such an alliance would have seemed absurd. Now nobody questioned it. The Queen represented a threat greater than political divisions. Even Darth Sidious understood that. Though he remained far from the battlefield, the Sith Lord observed events through intelligence networks spanning the galaxy. For perhaps the first time in decades, he found himself genuinely uncertain about the future. Everything depended upon the outcome of this battle. If the Queen survived, the Clone Wars would become irrelevant. Order 66 would never occur. The Republic would eventually collapse beneath the infestation. The Empire would never be born. The Sith would inherit nothing but ruins. The realization disturbed him more than he cared to admit. Back within the Hive chamber, the final confrontation began. The Queen attacked first. The cavern shook as the gigantic creature surged forward. Massive limbs shattered organic structures while acidic projectiles erupted from hidden biological systems. Entire sections of the chamber collapsed beneath the force of her movement. Clone troopers opened fire immediately. Hundreds of blaster bolts slammed into the creature. Most achieved little. Her armor had evolved beyond anything previously encountered. Even heavy weapons struggled to penetrate it. The Queen responded by unleashing waves of elite defenders. Gigantic warrior variants charged from surrounding tunnels. Flying creatures descended from cavern ceilings. Specialized castes emerged from hidden chambers designed specifically to eliminate heavily armed opponents. The battle exploded into chaos. Lightsabers illuminated darkness as Jedi engaged the advancing swarm. Mandalorians unleashed flamethrowers and rockets. Predator hunters employed exotic weaponry rarely witnessed by outsiders. Clone troopers and battle droids formed defensive lines despite mounting casualties. Yet every assault stalled against the Queen's overwhelming defenses. The creature simply refused to die. Minutes stretched into hours. Losses mounted. Hope began fading. Then something unexpected happened. The Predators changed tactics. For generations, The hunters had pursued worthy prey across countless worlds. Honor defined their culture. Strength defined their identity. The greatest warriors earned glory through personal achievement. But the Queen represented something different. This was not a hunt. It was an extinction-level threat. The oldest Predator clan leaders understood that distinction. One by one, they activated devices carried for centuries but rarely used. Ancient weapons. Final weapons. Self-destruct systems capable of annihilating entire regions. The decision stunned nearby forces. Predator commanders fully intended to sacrifice themselves if necessary. The realization spread rapidly. Clone officers recognized it. Mandalorians recognized it. Even Jedi understood. The hunters had accepted death. All that remained was ensuring their sacrifice achieved victory. Obi-Wan Kenobi quickly adapted the emerging strategy. Combined assault teams redirected efforts toward creating an opening. Clone troopers concentrated fire on weakened armor sections. Jedi coordinated attacks through the Force. Mandalorians deployed their remaining explosives. For the first time, the Queen began taking significant damage. Cracks appeared across portions of her armor. Acid sprayed from wounds. The creature roared with a fury that shook the cavern itself. The Hive reacted violently. Billions of organisms surged toward the chamber. The final battle accelerated. Everyone understood time was running out. Count Dooku sensed it. Obi-Wan sensed it. The Predators certainly sensed it. Victory required one last push. One final assault. What followed would become legend. Jedi and Sith fought side by side. Clone troopers and battle droids advanced together. Mandalorians charged directly into impossible odds. Predator hunters challenged the Queen at close range despite knowing death awaited them. The offensive broke through. The Queen's defenses finally collapsed. Massive explosions tore through her armored body. Lightsaber strikes penetrated vulnerable regions. Heavy weapons shattered critical biological structures. The creature staggered. For the first time since the invasion began, the Hive's ruler appeared vulnerable. The Predator clan leaders acted instantly. Without hesitation. Without fear. Without retreat. They charged. Moments later, ancient weapons activated. The resulting explosion consumed the chamber. A sun seemed to ignite beneath Gehenna Prime. Shockwaves tore through the Hive. Organic structures disintegrated. Entire tunnel networks collapsed. The Queen vanished beneath overwhelming energy. Across the planet, the effect was immediate. The Hive screamed. Not physically. Psychically. Biologically. As though billions of organisms suddenly realized something fundamental had changed. Their Queen was dead. The network shattered. Coordination vanished. Confusion spread. The infestation began collapsing. On the surface, surviving forces witnessed the transformation almost instantly. Organized resistance disappeared. Xenomorphs became erratic. Entire Hive sectors descended into chaos. The war was ending. Not everywhere. Not completely. But decisively. Above Gehenna Prime, the combined fleets seized the opportunity. Massive bombardments targeted remaining Hive concentrations. Organic vessels died in enormous numbers. The last coordinated defenses disintegrated. Victory finally emerged from catastrophe. Yet the cost was staggering. Entire fleets had been lost. Billions were dead. Countless worlds remained scarred. The Clone Wars galaxy would never fully recover. As news spread across known space, reactions varied. Citizens celebrated survival. Military leaders mourned losses. Jedi reflected upon sacrifices made. Even Darth Sidious reconsidered his future calculations. Because the war against the Xenomorphs had changed everything. The Republic and Separatists had fought together. Jedi and Sith had witnessed cooperation. Mandalorians and clone troopers had forged mutual respect. Old assumptions no longer held true. The galaxy emerging from this conflict was fundamentally different from the one that had entered it. And for Darth Sidious, that truth posed a problem. His plans still existed. Order 66 remained possible. The Empire could still rise. But history had shifted. The people of the galaxy had seen unity. They had seen enemies become allies. They had survived extinction together. The lessons learned during the last hunt would not be forgotten easily. As Gehenna Prime burned beneath orbital fire and the remnants of the Hive died across the stars, the Clone Wars entered their final chapter. The Xenomorph Queen was dead. The galaxy had survived. But the future waiting beyond the war would be unlike any future Darth Sidious had originally envisioned. The last hunt had ended. The consequences were only beginning. The Clone Wars did not end the way history remembered. Across countless worlds, the scars left by the Xenomorph invasion would remain visible for generations. Entire sectors had been sterilized from orbit. Once thriving colonies had become lifeless graveyards drifting beneath silent stars. The cost of survival had been so immense that even the Jedi archives struggled to calculate the true number of lives lost. Yet despite the devastation, civilization endured. The destruction of the Great Hive marked the end of the largest biological threat the galaxy had ever faced. The death of the Xenomorph Queen sent shockwaves through every remaining Hive network, reducing countless swarms to disorganized predators that were hunted down over the following months by Republic fleets, Mandalorian clans, and surviving predator hunting parties. What had once seemed like an unstoppable extinction event slowly became a fading nightmare. But victory belonged to no single faction. Clone troopers who had spent years fighting battle droids now stood beside former Separatist enemies in memorial ceremonies. Jedi Masters who had once viewed Mandalorians with suspicion now acknowledged the warriors' critical role in saving entire sectors. Even the Predators, whose arrival had initially terrified the galaxy, departed with an unexpected measure of respect from those who had witnessed their final stand against the Queen. For Darth Sidious, however, the consequences were catastrophic. His perfect war had been disrupted beyond repair. Resources meant for future Imperial expansion had been consumed by the anti-Xenomorph campaigns. Entire fleets he intended to use during Order 66 had been destroyed. More importantly, cooperation between the Republic and Separatists had exposed dangerous truths. Investigations begun during the crisis uncovered anomalies within military intelligence, financial records, and political communications. Threads that had once remained hidden now led far too close to the Supreme Chancellor himself. The Sith Lord remained dangerous. His ambitions remained intact. Yet for the first time in decades, his victory was no longer inevitable. The Jedi Order emerged changed as well. Fighting alongside former enemies against a threat that cared nothing for politics forced many masters to reconsider assumptions that had guided them throughout the war. They had witnessed firsthand that survival sometimes demanded unity beyond ideology. The lessons would not be forgotten. And somewhere beyond the known galaxy, predator vessels vanished into the darkness between stars. Their clans carried trophies unlike any collected in their long history. Lightsabers, clone armor, fragments of Xenomorph queens. Stories of battles that would be told around hunting fires for generations. The Force flowed onward through the galaxy as it always had. Yet the beings who survived the invasion would forever remember a terrifying truth. The Clone Wars had convinced everyone that their greatest enemies were each other. The Xenomorphs proved otherwise. Sometimes the darkness does not come from politics, ambition, or the dark side. Sometimes it comes from beyond the edge of the map. And when it does, survival belongs only to those willing to stand together against extinction.
The multiverse doesn't end here. New invasions, new empires, and new worlds collide daily. If you enjoy deep cinematic what-if scenarios like this, subscribe and join Multiverse Galaxy if